Hello, let's start this first lesson with the Picotin. But now you see, the handle and buckle strap have been finished. I will do it again later. These three buckle straps are exactly the same. The only difference between them is the length. Their lengths are different. The shortest one has a lock separately, and then the slightly longer one will wear the buckles. This one will wear a buckle. They do exactly the same process. I will do these straps later for your better reference. This is the buckle strap, then the handle. You see, I made two versions. One is slightly bulging version, another one is flat version. I'm flat. Regards to the bulging version. Let's do it later. There's nothing to say about the flat version. That is, the bonded leather is glued between the inner and outer leathers. Then use the patterns to correct it. Okay, these are kind of easy things, including this lock case. Let's talk about the handle first. 2 pieces of leather and 2 pieces of bonded leather. Glue a piece of bonded leather for each piece of leather separately. This handle can be directly pasted flat. 1 mm leather plus 0.4 mm bonded leather. It's 1.4 millimeters, and the two are up to exactly to 0.8 millimeters. Why add bonded leather? 2 reasons. First, the handle is guarded against extension. Otherwise, it will become longer over time, right? Secondly, we will retain a full state here, right? So the bonded leather plays a separating role. Here, take a closer look. The handle will clamp its body to sew together. Therefore, these two parts should have separate weld edges. It's okay if you don't want to add reinforcement. It is just not particularly easy to deal with edge welding. So let's add a bonded leather for each piece of leather. Actually, it's not difficult about this part. We took the Picotin tutorial years ago. It hasn't changed much. Someone asked me how to make a bulging effect for this handle. Can you see this one has been dent? I used the 800 one to thin edges. The bonded leather has been thinned edges by 801 machine. Thin edges slightly. The edges are thin to almost zero. If you can't control the 801 thinning machine well, see the bonded leather is only 0.5 millimeters. You can gently thin it by hand. Just thin it gently like this. The bonded leather is particularly easy to thin than leather. Thin the edge to 0 millimeters and it's okay. It doesn't matter if you break a little edge, because the bonded leather and leather are pre-large. Also note that we must use Kenda 103A for the handle. Now we're going to brush it. Okay, after brushing glue, let's glue it together. Okay, it fits. Then fit this handle with the bonded leather as well. After it fits, let's put them together again. Pay attention at this time. This area of the handle, just brush glue on one side, because this area will need to be opened eventually. One side is fully brush glue, the other side, don't glue this part and this part. And then paste it, right? Okay, then at this time we will put the pattern upon, for correction and punching stitching holes. After the handle is glued, let's get the pattern. Here are the pattern. There are 2 circles in this place. And that's where our sewing begins. Sew the straight section from the circle to circle. Then don't sew this U-shaped part. We will clip the body and sew it together finally. Stick the pattern on it. Masking paper is pasted on the back of this pattern. This way, it won't be dark when you punch through it. Center it, and then cut a circle. Okay, after cutting a circle like this, take out the pre-enlarged part, useless, and then the left part. We turn it on. Such a Picotin handle with a slight bulging effect in the middle is ready. After finishing this step, we can hot ironing the decorative line. But before ironing the decorative line, be sure to open this place in advance. Because we only apply single-sided glue here, so this piece is easy to open. Why do we do this part like this? It is because we can adjust the position when actually punching holes. After opening it, press the decorative line. Okay, the decoration is finished. We can go to the stitches and all edges. Then remember. Yeah, let me stress that again. Guys, the straight sewing must be from this circle to this circle. The U-shape must not be sewn first, because I see a lot of guys have sewn a circle and ask me what to do next. I don't know what to do, bro. So bro, don't sew this in a circle again. Then come and ask me what to do, okay? Then this handle, I am using Picotin 14 to demonstrate. The method of Picotin 18 and 23 are exactly the same. Only the width and length of the handle have changed a little bit. The shape and proportions haven't changed. Then the handle ends. Then let's talk about the buckle strap. It's easier to make. The leather of the buckle strap. There is also the bonded leather for the buckle strap. They are brushed with glue. Just paste it directly. Then after pasting, find the area in the middle. Then we mark. This place must be patched. If you don't make patch leather, we will see the beneath fiber. We can see the inside through this gap. So this place must be patched. So this patch leather must be thin. The thinner, the better. That's the first thing. Second, bend and stick it. How to bend and stick? Make sure a section is flat. Put it on. Then just tilt it up a little bit. Finally press like this. It's okay not to bend and stick when we make the buckle strap. Then after bending and pasting, we turn it over and feel whether it transits naturally. I mean, we'll see whether this little patch leather transits naturally. If it feels too unnatural to touch like this, we flip it over and give extra thinning. Cut a knife. Same here. Let's touch it again after cutting, so the transition is natural. Stick the corrected pattern apart to punch holes. Just correct and all edge. This handle. We're done talking about the method of bulging handle and buckle straps. After doing this step, we finish sticking. Then we need to iron it. Iron edge and all edge. Straight areas are easy to iron. And around the corner, we must iron the straight line area first. Then when we get to the turn, title the head up. Then slowly turn around. Don't worry. We want results. This place is not the time for speed. It's very easy to iron like this by pace. Gently ironing for the first time. Gently ironing a gap. and then we're going to do it a second time with a little bit more force. Then the back is the same. Then the straight line area is more easy. Let's operate it normally. Then this is an effect of ironing the sideline. Don't oil the edge. Now, let's punch and stitch. First, when we punch, there is a horizontal line marked on the pattern, right? What's this horizontal line for? Just for marking the stitching holes like this. When we sew it from here to here. You can't see clearly on the leather, so I will tell you on the pattern. We sew from this hole to this hole. Here's a line, then this U-shape. Let's not sew it up yet. We'll sew it up with the main body. After these two lines are sewn, we oil the edge. After oiling edge, we put it aside. After we finish sewing this handle, be sure to hammer it after sewing. Use a metal hammer. Don't hit the hardware with this hammer. Don't hit nails or anything like that. This surface needs to be polished, very smooth. And when you hammer the stitching, you better use a piece of marble or a thicker ceramic brick. Put it to the edge. Use a little force. Okay, let's take a look at the comparison after knocking. Let's compare it like this. You can tell the difference between knocking and not knocking. Oh, it's very flat after knocking. It's uneven if not knocking. Then these two handles. One has a bulging effect. One has no bulging effect. You can make different effects with the same pattern. This one are the same. One side has been hammered. We hammer at the bottom here. It is obvious that there is no hammering on the top side, so you must hammer the thread. After hammering the thread, the decorative line we ironed before is not so clear, so you need to re-iron it this time. Just use an electric edge creaser to iron it again. Don't reverse the order. If we oil the edges first, if we hammer it, the edge oil will be bulged. Okay, now I'm hammering it all once. Then pay attention that when hammering, it is not smashed vertically like this, but in such a shaking feeling. After hammering, the decorative line is not so clear, so at this point we re-iron it again. Okay, after ironing the decorative line, we can sand the edge, sand the handle and the buckle strap together, and we can oil them together later. I have already brushed the glue on these sides. Be sure to oil this part in advance before installing the hardware. Now let's oil these pieces together. This is already oiled, handle included. Okay, regards to edge oiling, we have explained it in detail in previous video. You can watch back this link. So I'm just going to go through it. Just wait a minute and show you the effect after the edge is oiled. The oil edge is finished here. Then put the hardware in. After wearing the hardware, let's glue this together again. But after the hardware is worn, there must be a protective measure here. We must use masking paper to protect it. In case we scratch it off in the following work. And then glue and sew the whole end. It is best to place a marble when bonding. That way, make sure our side is very neat. After bonding, we can sew it up. Oh, that's right. Now the handle and buckle strap, including this one, are oiled. Also finished sewing, we can install this eyelet later. The buckle strap is not difficult to make. This place of these two straps needs to be thinned later. Now the handle, it's over here too. Let's take a closer look. It's the same pattern. The handle effect made by different processors is different. One is thicker, one is thinner, but in fact their final thickness is the same. It just depends on whether you want to make a bulge effect or not. You get two completely different results. This is bulging effect. This is relatively flat effect. Depends on your preference. OK. These two are finished, and then we can set them aside after oiling edges. Now we continue to make main body. This is the pattern of the body. This is the exterior leather. Just avoid the same mistake made by Yuan. She oiled the edges directly after getting this leather. One of them is already oiled. It's no use. Guys, this is pre-enlarged leather. It needs to be corrected first. After correcting the pre-enlarged part, we can punch stitching holes. Right, to correct first, then oil edges later. In this case, isn't this oil edge useless? Okay, let's take Yuan's mistake as practice. Then be sure to align the lower edge when we correct it. Do not align the upper edge. No need to center. Why? Because the leather is not thin here. Only thin here. So if you are particularly close to the upper edge when correcting, then the thinning area is almost being corrected off. So we're going to lean down. Lean down and center. Punch all the stitching holes. The below holes is not recommended for punching. It's useless to punch these holes. Just make a midpoint mark for this row of holes, or just make a few marks every few points. It is not recommended to punch here. Now I'm going to correct it. Punch holes and or edges. Okay, we've finished punching holes on the main body. When we oil the edge, because it is a single layer of leather, and it's particularly soft, so it's easily to get some issues if it's not carefully handled. First reminding, don't hold it like this too well or sanding by hands, because when you hold it in your hand, it will naturally bend the leather. After finishing, the whole bar will not very upright. It may even be stretched and deformed. So the first point is don't pinch it with your hands. What about the solution? That is, you can use the pattern to stagger 5 mm slightly downward. Then turn it over, sand it like this. In this case, it's easy to operate. I just apply the first layer of oil and wait for it to dry. It hasn't been ironed yet. And then I figure out the solution of sanding. You can sand it like this. Second reminding is, when sand this rounded corner, you can use the sandpaper to wrap a small wooden stick, or wrap a pen. Use them to sand this rounded corner area. In this case, you have the pattern as a backing support. It's a lot better than holding it in our hands. And then the third reminding is, I recommend you find a tool like this. I made it years ago. Just tuck the big body in like this. After stuffing it and hold it like this, then you can sand it. It looks more upright. But don't press the leather upon like this. Need to be hanging in the air like this. Just don't press this leather. Put it like this. The other edge of the main bobby. Now let's apply it for the last time. After that, let's put that aside. That's how it works. Support the leather with the Kraft pattern to do sanding and oiling. A little trick. Then let's make this buckle while we wait. Okay, how to do the buckle strap. This is bonded leather, and this is the pattern. Let's cut the pattern first, split in two. Okay. After pasting, we cut this pattern. Then the other half is useless. It is used for cutting. Then take half of the bundle leather now. Okay, then let's use this to brush glue. Because this leather is so soft, so it's hard to level it out. What should we do now? Let's see there's a glue on it. So let's temporarily glue it onto the steel ruler. So it's flatter, right? It's straighter. And take this off again. Paste it in a straight line. Okay, after pasting, we will replenish this glue. Okay, after brushing the glue, here. Let's continue to press it with this ruler. Use the shaping stick too. Make this leather stand up. We'll glue it. Now we use a hammer. Hammer upon. There must be such an action. This ensures that there is no unnecessary hammering here. That way, we're even. After gluing, it is normal that it bend a little bit. Don't worry. Because it's originally not straight, it has a naturally curved status. Then this time, align this side. After fitting like this, fix these three sides again. Cut it. It's better to cut it all at one time. Otherwise, it's easy to cut unevenly. Gradually deepen. It's done if the cutting is neat. Then take it off. Hot ironing and oiling edge. That's it. If you're willing to sew it up, sew one in the middle. It doesn't matter if you don't want to sew it. Let's continue to make the bottom. There are 4 pieces in total. The previous pattern has an inner leather pattern, outside leather pattern, and padding pattern. Now the new pattern has an extra shrink padding pattern. That pattern will be replenished, but I don't need this when I'm making now. The inner leather is bigger than the outside. Let's paste the outside leather first. This is padding pattern. This is the outer leather pattern. Same way of making. Mark the midpoint of the outer leather first. Just mark some points. Then mark the whole of these feed stops. Because 3 dots are enough to determine a plane. Okay, and then the pattern. Let's find this midpoint, and punch these for corner holes. Okay, after brushing the glue. Align this point first, and then align the sides. After gluing it like this, remove the side. OK, and then put it down. Same method. We also glue the smaller pattern to the inner leather. After the inner leather is done, don't hurry to glue it, because at this point we need to install the feet studs after we apply the inner leather. Just to say it again. This new added pattern, it's not included in the old pattern. The only new pattern has it. It's smaller than the pattern node 03. If you have the old pattern, also want to have this pattern effect, just shrink it by 5 mm on the pattern number 3. That's it. Now we're going to install the feet stub. Then stick the inner and outer leather together. Let's see these feet stubs. There are many new leather enthusiasts. They don't know why it's this shape. OK, just screw this screw off. Throw away this pole. That pole is for the adhesion and friction of the foot stub during electroplating. This is how it works. We will skip the step about installing the screw. I assume you all know how to turn the screw, right? The outer leather is brushed with glue. I hit for corners of these for midpoints. And then the inner leather, I gave it for angles as well. Better alignment. This corner depends on everyone's personal work habits. It's not necessary, but it's a pretty useful method. It's better to make more auxiliary lines to help us do it precisely. OK, we'll do it after the corner is done. OK, line up. So let's get 3 of them right. And yeah, OK. So now we just paste the middle up. So let's flip this over here. Shape the inner leather. If it is not easy to operate, just find one with a height difference and pile it up. Otherwise, it will be uncomfortable to hold the feet stubs under it. OK, after the inner leather is shaped, let's put it on the edge first. Put it to the edge. We still haven't bonded this place, because we just fit it in the middle area. Then find the place has a height difference. Bend and glue from outward to inward. Where we end the bend and glue, say we have a padding core, right? It is bounded by the padding. If these places are already connected, just open it up. And then we bend it around the edges. Bend and stick it in for straight lines. Then stick this corner again. In this way, the whole of our bottom will be bent and pasted more neatly. When bending and sticking the corner, press the middle first, then press both sides again. Never roll from side to side. In that case, it's full of folds here. So our bottom is done. Put the bottom aside first. Okay, when I watched the playback just now, I found that the sound was not recorded when pasting this buckle. Slightly bad. Excuse me. We still have a second buckle to shirt. This one is finished sewing. After sewing, we must hammer it like this. After hammering, the decorative line is not as clear as before, so you need to use this as 0.5 head. Now, it's a one-sided head. Use one-sided head to iron the decorative line. Don't turn on the temperature too high. That's the first reminding. The second reminding is that this is a straight line, so don't be lazy. Let's find a ruler to lean against. Then follow the ruler to replenish this decorative line. After you become proficient, you don't need a ruler. We have ironed the decorative line before, so there's a slot. Then you can use this previous slot to hot iron again. But at the beginning, I suggest you use this ruler. Hold it like this. Go iron the decorative line. After being hammered, this decorative line is not clear as well. Iron the decorative line again. Let's put a second buckle on it. Okay, after we iron the decorative line, let's talk about sticking this buckle, because this buckle is sandwiched into pieces of leather. After sandwiching the main body panels, we'll sew them together front and back. So don't misplace this hole. After misalignment, it is difficult to sew together. Then how to paste it. Now you know how convenient it is to have a piece of marble moved. Let's bring it up first when we paste the second piece. Ensure that the left and right bodies are well combined. Okay, when brushing the glue, remember to brush the cut surface of the leather too. Then find the second longest strap. Put this separate buckle on. The longest buckle strap will wear to D-ring buckles, sew in advance. Then find 3 needles. 3 open needles, because 3 points set a plane. Let's align the stitching holes. Fit them well. Pay attention here. Except for this separate buckle strap, the bottom of the other 2 buckle straps must be thin to a gradual change to 0. In this case, it will be more fit when bend and stick together. Okay, done with the front line. Then find a needle. Set it at the second point first. Okay, don't fall after setting a point. Then randomly find a stitching hole. Slowly drop it. Don't push hard at this time. Find the top stitching hole. Align the top stitching hole. Okay, after it fits well, let's turn it over. Take out the marble, so it forms a barrel shape. Don't forget to install the separate buckle strap, otherwise it will be very sad in the end. Look for these for needles. Let's set the top 2 points first. You can temporarily glue the top after above to a fix. Press a little bit. Don't compact at first. Then align and fit the following 2 needles. All 4 needles are fixed. After these 4 needles are positioned, you can paste it from top to bottom. Take out the needle while sticking it. After the buckle strap is glued, we can sew it up now. Okay, we can sew it up now. When we sew this Picotin, the front 2 sides are easy to sew because this body can be expanded. You see the stitching pony like this. It holds the leather very well, but when you sew this tube, when sewing a spiral shape, it's hard to clip it. Can only sew a little and clip a little. This process is relatively painful. So at this time, you can use the sticks with magnets. Clip it like this. Then sew. You can sew it very flat and straight. During the whole process, it will not cause squeeze or distortion to the main body. In this case, the bag we make will be more upright. See, the light here is not very good, right? You can use some small lamps. Well, it's a very small light bulb. Install them inside. In this case, the operation is more convenient. This is a small tip. That's a little trick. Then just push this back when not in use. When we go to this step, our bag is sewn into a tube, right? The bottom can be installed now. Before installing the bottom, check again. Make sure we can see 2 midpoints. 2 midpoints here. Also 2 midpoints on the side. It's the middle seam when pasting little straps. Find these midpoints. Then we can operate it now. Brush glue on this edge. Brush 5 mm wide. Start. Okay, after we finish the main body, let's deal with this bottom and piping. Then leather wrapping straps. I need to thin this end, so I brushed a little bit of that crosslinker to make it harden a little bit. In this case, it has a better thinning effect. Otherwise, this is soft and thin leather with only 0.7 mm thickness. It would be easily deformed, so the crosslinker hardens it a little bit. While waiting, let's sand the edge of the bottom first. Be sure to grind it off, otherwise the glue will not stick well later. If it doesn't stick well, it is prone to dislocation when sewing. If done in a factory by sewing machine, they sew a thread in advance. When we stitch by hand, it's only a sewing line as well, so just sand it off. When sanding, we notice 2 issues. 1, there's a height difference. Second, there's a straight line. So this block of marble, it's actually very useful. Then go and sand it slowly like this. Be sure to pay attention when sanding. Just sand 5 mm in width. What if we can't sand well at the beginning? Find a ruler. Find a ruler to hold it like this. And then use the side of the sandpaper block. Like this. Three or 4 will do. Keep the width of sanding. Be sure to press your ruler. Don't sand and slip, like suddenly it is beyond the ideal sanding width. This destroys the leather surface. So, the ruler must be pressed firmly. Then sand it section by section. Okay, after the straight line is sanded, when we turn to the corner, this is about a slight rub. Let's continue to polish it with our hands. The processing must be in place. All these details will determine your final effect. Don't miss these steps. Don't worry. We must follow the premise of ensuring the basic effect before speeding up, right? Like we do the homework, speed up on the premise of ensuring the accuracy. Otherwise, what's the use of just pursuing speed? Take every simple step well. In the end, this effect will definitely not be too bad. You need to follow this principle when doing handcraft. The same is true of life and work. Someone asked me before, say, can we use 801 leather skiving machine to thin this place? Sure. But the understanding and operation of 801 is more demanding, if you are aware of this problem. Well, it's okay to improve efficiency, but you need practice. In other words, when you ask this question, it means you haven't reached the level yet, because you don't have a deep understanding of the accuracy of 801. So you ask, actually those play well with 801. They can use it to deal with this edge directly. He peeled off a layer in advance with this exterior leather. Very thin, very thin. The surface of the leather can be sanded off. It's only around 0.1 millimeters, so the reverse side will not be affected. I'll show you guys when you're interested in. That is, you can use 801 to do the step if you're familiar with it enough. Otherwise, it is not recommended to use 801, because you may lose a piece of this leather. Then the outer leather. It's time when we get it fluffy. Okay, now, we will stick the piping. Two ends of the piping will be not stacked at the end, so it must be thinned. It's easy to thin this out. Those who have taken our course should have an overall understanding of the crosslinker. Use this edge creaser after serving the crosslinker. Open a second or third gear. Brush it. Just to make this edge a little harder. It is much easier to thin. Remember the knife should also be sharpened. Just shovel 12 or 13 millimeters. Then gradually push to 0. Okay, that's fine. It doesn't matter if the shovel leather is broken. Don't feel like it's a disaster when you break the edge. Now we shave it a little bit forward. Because the wrapping leather for piping is pre-larged. For example, surround one circle. The required length is 64 centimeters. So I usually cut at least 66 centimeters in length. There will be a little more. Then cut off the broken edge. And that's the marking. Be sure to mark it carefully at the beginning. From this area to the side is an interface tool. Oh, then when I put the plastic core, it will also be placed in this position. The other end should be cut at the end, although we know its length is 64 centimeters. But some people cut this leather randomly, sometimes beyond or less than 60 centimeters. This is the first reminding. Second reminding is the thickness of the wrapping leather. Although our suggestion is 0.7 millimeters. However, the precision of the whole piece in machine is not high. It might be 0.72, maybe 0.73, maybe 0.69, 0.75, 0.80, all are possible. So all of these variables will affect the final length. So we cut him a little bit longer. Leave a certain operating margin. Now we are going to stick the plastic core. It's easy. This wrapping leather will hold a 1.5 mm plastic core. See this plastic core? You use PVC. You can also use cotton rope. You can also use leather rope. You can also use silicone. All are okay. Different cores create different effect. Each has its advantages and disadvantages. PVC is relatively hard, so its final state will be very stable upright. What about the leather rope? At first, the state was similar to that of PVC, but it's not durable. After a period of time, leather rope with 1.5 millimeters will be easily deformed. Of course, if you like that effect, that is to say, all types of the material are okay. Doesn't it mean that if I wrap it with a leather rope, the bag is ugly? There is no compulsory standard, so everyone can be open to these materials. Don't be rigid to a certain material or method. I used to answer this material of the piping core question several times a day. Now let's brush glue on the wrapping leather, then paste this core. Okay. After the wrapping leather is glued, bring the core. It leaks about 1 or 2 centimeters, and just visually center it. Fit it here. What's next? Just fold it with your hands. When folding in half, we just need to see if the leather edges are light. One more important thing, pull the leather up and pull the plastic core down. Don't leave space at the bottom. No bubbles at the bottom. Move the core downward like this. Then this index finger goes up. Put the leather next to the core. Otherwise, it will be ugly if any space at the bottom of the wrapping leather. Check one section after gluing one section. If there is a space, tear it apart and repaste it. See there are spaces inside the leather like this. So at this point we need to open it up. Refit. That's how it works. Use this index or middle finger to put the leather on top. Then let this leather must be close to the core. Holding the leather like this. Then 2 fingers go up. Go up. In this case, the piping we are gluing will be very stretched. Okay, now we'll stop gluing until the last section. You don't need to wrap it from beginning to end. We will leave the last section of the core alone, or cut the excess length directly. And let's go back to the very beginning. Squeeze and shape the core. Let's move it a little bit further to the edge. After the core is processed, our next step is to fluff it too, fluffing the surface like this. Find a utility knife or sandpaper block. We will sand the edge below the core. Then this edge, we sanded it all. Fluffing on both sides. Don't underestimate this step. It will ensure your effect. Take a few more minutes. You can find the spacing gauge. It's a compass, measuring 8 mm or 7 mm width. Then get close to this outside and draw. Draw this circle. Then when drawing, the spacing gauge is on the outside, not by this core. If you rely on a core, you can measure 3 to 4 mm, but the core is not easy to trace, so I chose to trace the outer frame. And after drawing, find a knife, then cut and correct it. Why we don't draw a precise width on the pattern? In the case, we can also save some leather, right? But, you see, we can't stick it neatly all the time. Sometimes it staggers a little. In this case, the pattern is useless because it doesn't help a line. That's why the pattern of this part is pretty large. Trim excess leather layer when finished sticking. It's also easier to correct. Then along with the knife, along this line, correct it slowly. Okay. Then after correction, the next step is to glue it. This is the glue nozzle. This width is just right. Squeeze this bottle and slowly brush it on. Just brush along the edge below the core. Okay, after brushing the glue, let's fill it together. Don't worry about the pretty large one here. Don't brush glue. Don't sand either, because we are not sure about the final length yet. Then in this step, we mark this midpoint probably here. But don't stick it on. Don't stick it on. And don't paste it upside down. The opening side is facing out. Fix it in the middle. Fix it in the middle. Stick it away with a distance of 3 cm, because this is the place that will lift and wrap with the leather, finally. So at this time, if you glue it on, it will be very uncomfortable to tear it apart later. Alright, drop it. Pick it up. It is glued with a band, so we align the outer edges. Fill it slowly. And then, when it is pasted around the corner here, you could use a knife or scissors. Put a little fold here. Don't fold too much. Can you take a close-up video? Okay. After a few small folds, it's easy to break it apart. Then continue back to the straight line area. It's attached to the outer leather. Don't stick it on the inner leather. I have seen a bro who is pasted on the inner leather and asked me why the plastic core wasn't long enough. Don't bluff. Anything is possible. It's not the brother's fault, because he was just getting started, right? So let's make every step clear. Don't blame mate of a boss. Otherwise, why would I mention him, right? Okay. Remember not cutting the deck. Leave it a millimeter or so to the plastic core. Okay, when we get here, we can now determine exactly how long it will take, right? So we'll cut it first, then open the excess. After opening it, we don't need to worry about this section for now. Mind the last section first. We'll determine its final length. This is the end. And then at this location. So now we can determine the extra length of the plastic core. That's it. Then cut off the core. And that's exactly how the core fits, right? Now we will determine the length of the outer leather. The length of the outer leather is here, right? And give it a millimeter out here. Cut it off. Can you see what that means? It's just that my actual leather is a little longer than this one. Because I'm going to thin it now. When it is thinned, it will be further elongated. So I set aside some operating margin. Give me the marble. Okay, let me take a look. I'm going to thin it out now. Find the knife and swing a few times. We shaved about 12 millimeters wide when we started before. It's the same thing here, 12 millimeters wide. But now it's brushed glue, and it was not very easy to thin it, right? What should I do at this time? Don't worry, get a masking paper tape. Cover it. In this way, our knife will not contact with the glued place, so it will be more easier to cut. Otherwise, the friction will be very strong. Don't push, but cut like this. Avoid breaking it now, because it will leak out. Put the tape aside. Glue this place. This glue must be brushed to the edge. Otherwise, there will be a small warped edge after rubbing it back. It doesn't look good. That's why we leave an extra 1 millimeter just now. The connector needs to be glued as well. Then hide this bottom leather under it first. It was about a millimeter left before. Now because it's stretched when it's thinned, so it's about 2 millimeters now. Just cut with a 2 millimeter margin. In this case, the ends will be particularly neat. Then fit the end first and leave it in the center. Leave the finishing end in the center first, and then align the extra core with the tail end of the core just now. The head and end of the core must be aligned here. Don't do this. I mean, don't overlap. Otherwise, this piece will become very wide. Just match it. It's hard to shoot clearly. It is now out of alignment. Let me open and see. It's about over a millimeter of alley. what to do now? Don't worry, make a small mark first. Then take scissors to cut it. Then check it again. Okay, this time it's just right. Make sure you align it. Say, what are the details? It wasn't that difficult. Just operate all places in detail. After aligning, close this piece. Little by little, especially here, be sure to wrap it tightly. Just fit it well like this. Okay, and then fit him like this. That's it. And then after it fits, use this ugly pliers. It gives enough force. Clamp it again. When you get to the corner, use a narrow end. You have to do every step. I know why. It must be done properly. Okay. Okay, after clipping it like this. From a distance, you can't tell where the end is. That's it. And now, we can reglue this edge. Then brush the glue here now. Bring around hole pricking iron. Okay, after brushing a circle of glue, we will use the round pricking iron. Then this round pricking iron, the first cut must be at this joint. Go across the middle. Then cut as close to the core as possible. Okay, just make sure you get through here. Can you feel where it is cut? Cut against the core. Oh, can't see clearly, right? Come on, let me draw it for you. I can't see clearly in front of the screen now, so just in case, I'll draw it for you. This is the lateral structure of the plastic core. Is it such a structure? Okay, this is the plastic core. That's how it's repeated. This is the base leather, right? When punching stitching out, this chop must hit this rush. Let's name this place as rush. Okay, do you know what that means now? Okay, you can't punch in this place. This is wrong. Do you understand? Well, it must be punched on the rush. Punch through. Do you understand? What distance of pricking iron do you use here? Alright, okay, but it is best to use 3.3A with me. I normally use a set of pricking iron, 3.0 and 3.38 pricking iron. Of course, you can also use the 0.0. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay. But if you use 5.0, it's not suitable, because it will not look good when turning the bag inside out. When you punch it, it looks diagonal from this side, right? But I'm on a vertical angle, because the surface is not flat. Got it? It's diagonal, right? Because this core area, it's not flat, it's diagonal. So I need to be perpendicular to the slope. So the pricking iron you see now is slanted, right? It's right to be perpendicular to this leather surface. It's not perpendicular to the table. So keep a consistent slope. Now you know why we sanded the leather surface before, right? Because it can be glued tightly. Otherwise, when I hit diagonally like this leather will be misplaced. Our next bag is the garden putty bag. Well, the bottom of the garden putty bag has the same making process. It's just gotten narrower and longer. That was all. Just the shape has changed. The practice is exactly the same. Okay, we've glued the main body. Brush the outer leather with glue, then turn it over. It's a single layer leather, pretty easy to turn over. Turning the bag is not a rollover. Put it up. These two buckle straps are the two midpoints, right? We also mark the midpoint of the body. It doesn't matter if you can't see clearly. It should be understandable. We see the bag bottom. There is a narrow side. And the wide side, the narrow one is facing the buckle strap. Align the midpoint first. When it is at the middle point, it fits the outer leather. Do not fit the inner leather. I'll paste it first and then show you with a close-up shot. That's it. The main body is against the outer leather of the bottom. It's the smaller edge. Don't align on this edge, because this edge will be wrapped upside down later. Well, then after the midpoints here are aligned, and the midpoint here. Can you see this point? Okay. Is there a triangle here? Use triangles to align midpoints. Then paste the straight line segment. Don't touch the corner. Okay, after these two midpoints are matched, we will match this midpoint. Okay, align the midpoint. Okay, now it's the final midpoint. Okay, after these midpoints are aligned, we'll deal with this corner. I'll take a pair of tweezers. And then, this corner, the whole place is open, right? Align the midpoint first. So we're probably looking for a midpoint. Then pinch the midpoint first. Then this piece is matched to the midpoint. Open this piece evenly. Say, it's the same here. Be sure to align. Okay, we align this half. Right around this corner. Check the midpoint first. And then carefully align this side. If it is misplaced, push it open and realign it. And so on. Align all four corners. Okay, after alignment. Then glue the edge of this main body. We'll wrap this pre-enlarged in the leather. Can you see what that means? It's called fold and wrap. It wraps the edges while folding. In this way, there's no need to weld edge for this bottom. The Picotin is an inner leather fold and wrap edge version. Lindy bag is also fold and wrap edge version. Same as cotton poly bag. Same thing. And long time ago, the official version of cotton poly bag also has a flush edge, but its edge was not welded. They use a piece of leather to wrap individually. Now it evolved into this fold and wrap version. Get it now? So let's call it in a leather fold over and wrap the edge. This is one type of bag making skill. When we make similar bags in the future, we won't introduce so much detail. In one sentence, the inner leather fold and wrap skill. That's it. Now we brush a narrow strip of glue. The leather here must be brushed to the side. This is the pre-enlarged outer leather. If the pre-enlarged inner leather is not glued on the side, after sewing, this edge will warp. But don't brush here. Here, if you brush it, the glue will leak out. It's ugly, right? So it needs to be brushed in place here. A narrow strip here is fine. I lied some glue here, because here it has a very clear boundary line. You'll know where to brush it without going beyond it. Right. Now this bag bottom, we've done with the sewing. Then after the bottom bag is folded, we can just sort, because we've done this punching in the inner circle. So now we can just use the through hole. Pass the inner punch hole to the outer hole. Poke one hole and sew one hole. Poke one hole and sew one hole. We can make a marker line on the outside. Just let our holes align this marking line when they come out. After sewing the whole bottom of the bag, we can turn the whole bag upside down. This bag is easy to flip. We start with 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. After the 4 corners are pressed. So it's turned over. If you turn it like this, it won't have a great impact on the folds of the bag body. And then you flip it over. We need to fix this fold, because this fold is round when turned over. At this point we need to knock it. Make a shape out. Let's find a metal hammer. Pinch this plate. After pinching, put it on the marble. Then align the 3 edges. You can knock like this. This is one way. We use flat pliers to clamp it. Be sure to clip it. If you don't clip it, its transition to this place is not very natural. Okay, clip the straight line first, then clip this corner again. Okay, after we sort it out at the bottom, make it flat, including these 4 lines are relatively clear. That's it. And then finally, let's put this handle again. Just right and sew it on. When pasting this handle, well, there is no need to brush glue. Just find a double-sided tape. It was punched in advance here, so we know that this gluing area should not exceed that punch. 2 on the front, 2 on the back. There's one common problem in this place. That's when we stick the handle. Open the front first and then. Find the needle and align it with the midpoint cut hole below. Align its midpoint cut again. Then slowly drop it in. Then push this needle in. Show a little bit. Then it falls off the front leather. Don't get through directly. If you get up directly, this place has the potential to be rolled up because this place has been thinned to 0. So keep it open. Make sure this place is flat enough and then fold to the front. When it falls, here, it still has half a needle. Make sure the needle below can come in through this cut hole. Then glue it all. After passing the needle over, pinch this side tighter. Don't fold this place. Smooth it out. Then sew this U-shape with 3 stitches both at the beginning and end. Same here. 3 stitches both at the beginning and end. After sewing, this bag is done. Then after this handle is sewn, this is okay. Find the lock. Lock it with a key. Pull and draw. Then hang this key case at this place. Okay, you're done.